Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Raposo. Today, my guest is Dr. Hashim Zaman, and he is the founder of Academic Blog. Dr. Zaman, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Big shout out to Sarah Kelser for doing the introduction. She met Dr. Zaman at a conference. I think, was it Hyatt Web?
That's right, last fall.
That's right, Hyatt Web in Albuquerque. I was there too, so I didn't have the pleasure of meeting Dr. Zaman, but here we are today. We're talking about why faculty branding matters, elevating institutional identity through personal presence. So, Doctor, you studied innovation and visibility in science. What challenges do scholars face when it comes to communicating their work to a broader audience, not just the academics?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that academic work generally faces is that it's not written for broad audiences. It's sort of dense, technical, and meant for other scholars in the field. So even when the research is super relevant to real-world issues, it can be hard for sort of non-specialists to make sense of it. So on top of that, most faculty aren't trained in communication and digital outreach. And on top of that, they're stretched thin with teaching, research, and other administrative responsibilities. So even when they do want to share their work more widely, they just don't have the time. And understandably, they're also quite concerned about who is interpreting their work because it's a matter of their reputation. Their work is technical and they don't want it to be misrepresented because their really reputation is on the line.
Yeah.
And that's really what led to Academic Blog. Since we're academics ourselves, we understand the content deeply, and we know how to sort of translate it to, for broad audiences, but also, in an accurate way, make it work very clear and engaging for, mass consumption.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. Me being English is my second language. I'm originally from Germany, so knowing that some things can get lost in translation, even though the academic research is written in English, it may not be that plain English that the everyday person who doesn't have a PhD understand, even though if you're the one that's writing it and you're constantly around these other scholars, to you that's second nature, right? But you may forget sometimes that, hey, there are people out there that may need the information like you said, but if they come across a wall of text with every second sentence is a word in there that they need to look up in the dictionary, you'll lose that audience right away. So I'm really looking forward to diving a little bit deeper into Academic Blog and some of the benefits of it. Now, from your perspective, how does faculty members' online presence shape how institutions is perceived externally, especially for prospective students and partners? Do you think that students take that into consideration who to study under?
Oh, for sure. I mean, a faculty member's online presence is typically the first point of contact for prospective students, as well as collaborators, private sector, policymakers, and the media. And when their work is well presented, let's say through a customized website, social media content that we develop, as well as, video abstracts that we creating that strong online digital presence, it just doesn't, not only does it reflect well on them, it reflects well on the institution at large. And in academia, visibility matters, not because faculty members are looking to, come across as, subject matter experts for the sake of personal advertising, but because they've invested so much in every single topic that they research. It takes years to put a research paper together. They're so immersed in the topic that they really are able to extract the best, findings out of them, and they want those to be communicated broadly. So institutions often use citations to measure impact, but then research is easier to discover and understand once it gets cited more. So a strong online presence can help boost that impact, track partnerships, create opportunities for both the scholar and the institution.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps with reach as well, obviously, when you're online and other people share it and engage with it on LinkedIn, for example, for one of the places. And it can help have beneficial monetary benefits as well, right, through grants and things like that.
I think, yeah, certainly there are monetary benefits for both the institution and perhaps the academic, although I don't know if that's the primary objective for an academic. Monetary benefits in the sense that the quality of research that comes out of an institution can attract good donors. Organizations are interested in collaborating with them, funding that research. So clearly that allows universities to set up better, teaching programs as well.
Yeah.
And for academics in the sense that, they are considered subject matter experts at once, their research goes out and is well recognized. And the universities want to engage them for consulting. Even like executives want to come and study and them for executive education, et cetera.
Yeah, that's right. And like you mentioned earlier with the media as well, right? So the expert finders on the university websites, when they're trying to look for a particular subject matter expert for a trending piece online, that alone is social proof and earned media right there for the institution, separating it from the competition right there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper there. What do most academics get wrong about personal branding, and how do you reframe it so it feels authentic and not performative through your work?
Yeah, I get that often. A lot of academics, the minute that we hear the word sort of personal branding, they think of it as, about being flashy, self-promotion, or selling themselves in a way that, as you said, feels performative. That's inauthentic. And that's a common misconception, because personal branding for academics is really about the visibility with purpose. It's about making your work accessible and understandable, to broad audiences, whether it's students, policymakers, media, other collaborators. But they cannot compromise on the integrity of research. So it's really, you have to take both together. And, when it's done well, then personal branding really feels authentic because it's rooted in your actual research and values, not just a marketing hype. And that's what we focus on at Academic Blog. Our aim is to sort of help scholars show up online in a way that's true to who they are, while still expanding the reach and the impact of their work.
And your perfect example here is a case study. You're showing up at a higher education marketing podcast as an academic, putting yourself out there, getting the word in front of your prospective clients, perhaps, and just seeing, that it is possible, and there's a natural way to go about it, right? It's not a TikTok video where you're dancing for attention, but a way to you sharing the insights and the knowledge that you have for the people that could benefit from it the most. So it's almost like a public service act, or an act of public service, when you go out there and share that with a broader audience to help them understand some of those breakthrough research that may benefit them in the long run.
Yeah,
So,
I think one difference from a commercial entity is that in academia, the content is not produced to be monetized eventually. The content is produced because out of genuine passion, the desire to dig into a particular topic, and just the content is followed by marketing. Marketing is not done to sell the content to begin with.
exactly, but to bring awareness to it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Academic Blog, because I want to dig a little bit deeper in it. There must have been a pivotal point for you to move forward to start that company. So you started that company in response to real pain points, right? So what was missing from how scholars were showing up online, and how does your approach help solve that?
Yeah, so universities typically do provide faculty pages to professors and academics, lecturers, adjuncts, but these often function as sort of basic directories with limited customization, little storytelling, and minimal engagement beyond just listing, their publications and contact information. What's missing is that interactive, that dynamic, personalized online presence. that truly reflects the depth and the impact of their work. So that's definitely one issue with the way universities have created their faculty pages. But from the academic side, what I've been experiencing and hearing for all these years that I've been in academia is that professors genuinely want to share their work broadly, even through social media, customized websites, video abstracts. But because they're stretched so thin with teaching and research responsibilities, administrative duties, they just don't get the time to do that. And also, as I said earlier, they don't feel comfortable outsourcing this kind of work. Their own reputation, matters, and they want to make sure that the point that they have in their, research articles and their books, that's communicated accurately. And that technical piece needs to be translated into content that's acceptable, it's consumable rather more broadly. But then you need somebody who understands the technical nature of the content to be able to translate it. And that's where we come in. As an academic myself, it took me a while, but I figured out how to bridge that gap. And now when we work with academics, we allocate a lot of time in studying their content before even thinking about the web design. The design itself, even if it looks minimalist, it has a lot of content, and that's done in a way, after studying their content, after they're studying the academic content, we sort of customize it. So we're not only focused on just highlighting their publications and teaching and conferences. Really, it's an outreach that aligns both with the scholarly rigor, that they're looking for, as well as public communication.
Well, this may be really new for the academics to get that kind of exposure. How do you go in there, right? So I assume you work with the marketing department first, and they introduce you to the academic, or is it the other way around? Do you connect with the academic first and then collaborate with the broader marketing department?
So it's happened both ways. We have talked to MarCom departments at different universities. Many of them we've run into at conferences. Otherwise, when they see our website now, when they see our content being produced and posted on social media, video abstracts, continuous social posts that we do. So they have reached out to us, and as well as other academics, that, for example, we have a list of clients now that seem pretty satisfied with us, so they refer their friends, they reach out to us, or they tell us to reach out to them. So one of the things that we've done is that we are making good use of AI to, build the social media presence. And that doesn't mean we rely on large language models to create content and just post it. Everything that's posted is thoroughly verified. But what our AI-powered social media tools do is translate that complex work into content that's accessible without being diluted. So it resonates with the media, the wider public, And that's why I think academic blog scholars, they not only show up online, they stand out in sort of building that visibility, improving their citations, and opportunities that benefit both the individual and their institution.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the show today. I hope you enjoyed so far. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast, but we're just overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work that goes into it? I get it. After producing over 100 episodes for the Education Marketing Leader, there's a lot of time that goes into this, time that most of us simply don't have. And that's where the Education Marketing Leader podcast production service comes into play. Me and my team will take care of the heavy lifting, from scripting, strategy, editing, to promoting. All you have to do is show up, record your episode, share your expertise, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you've been sitting on a podcast idea, today is the time to act. Reach out to me via DM on LinkedIn, and we'll get you started. And now, back to the episode. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Has there been, let's think back on when you first started this and when you started reaching out to academics. Have you seen pushback from the academic circles in regard to that approach, or were they receptive to your ideas at the beginning?
So I think initially what I noticed was there was some skepticism on part of both MarCom and academics as to, oh, you're using AI. We don't want to use AI for one reason or another. but now I'm seeing them embrace it more and more. In fact, once they see the posts that go out there, so what our AI powered tool, social media tool is going to do is it's going to track citations, figure out the context of the citations, repurpose it for social media, and post it. And this tool, right now we're in the middle of releasing version 2 of the tool. Version 1 was good. Version 2 is going to have a lot more. It's going to have graphics. It's going to have a lot of good content from the papers itself that will get posted. So as we're posting more and more, the quality of content is such that people are beginning to receive it, and with a lot more acceptability.
Yeah, definitely helps to have a couple of case studies there to show that somebody else did it first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, can you share some real-world examples of how your team has helped faculty increase visibility or better align with institutional goals? Were there any surprising wins or lessons that you learned from the start?
Yeah, so we work with a number of professors across disciplines. To answer your question, one example is a Harvard Business School professor who already had an online presence, but it didn't fully reflect sort of the depth or relevance of his work. So we redesigned his website after thoroughly studying his research, created short video abstracts for some of his older but highly cited papers on open source and AI, which have become quite relevant again with the rise of these large language models. So we also used our AI-powered social media tool to help translate his research into accessible posts. Within a few months, we saw meaningful increases in engagement, traffic, even citations. Another example is a professor who had written a book on doing business in emerging markets about over a decade ago. The ideas are still quite relevant, especially given how well emerging markets have done over the last decade. So we created a short video abstract and posted it on LinkedIn. And that itself generated so much interest from both policymakers and professionals in the book and the findings of the book. I've learned that from the professor as well directly. So the key is that we take that burden of content development off their plate because we actually understand the material. So that way they can get the benefits of outreach without having to spend all the time explaining everything to us from scratch. And that's sort of the barrier between them and the MarCom. MarCom people are talented. They want to get the benefit. They want to market that content, but faculty just doesn't give that time to MarCom that's needed to do justice to the material.
So you got some citations out of that as well, or these professors, which is huge, I think, for them, to be cited in different papers or articles through your work. So that's a big win. Congratulations on that. But we talked about marketing leaders and they're not getting the time. That may have something to do with the questions they ask or the approach they have towards the academics. Can you give some suggestions what marketing leaders can do to support faculty without overwhelming them or coming across as controlling?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I guess the key is to approach faculty from the perspective of partnership, not policing. So most professors do want their work to be seen and understood. They just don't want to lose control of how it's represented. So because their research is really their reputation. So what I think marketing leaders can do is to provide that infrastructure that respects that. Tools, templates, services that support scholars without overwhelming them. Let faculty sort of opt in, don't sort of push it on them. And give them a lot of options. When possible, work with people who understand academic content, whether it's, PhDs, postdocs, researchers, faculty, work with them if you're able to get their time. I think that's really the key. And I think that's the role that we play at Academic Blog, because we're academics ourselves, so faculty trust us to handle their work with that nuance. We collaborate, the aim is to sort of build that trust where everyone wins, the scholar, the department, the institution.
Yeah, you just said it, build that trust. It's with everybody really, especially people with that stature, where their reputation's on the line. It's like you coming on my podcast, right? So after I hit record and I have the recording, I can do whatever I want with it, really. And you have to trust that I'll make the best out of it. And the same with the marketing people that work at the institutions, making sure that once something's published on the website or in an article or in a newsletter that reflects exactly what the academic had in mind. Because if you do that, if you hit that nail on the head and it drives home the point that they're trying to make in a more approachable way, they'll trust you even more and will collaborate with you in the future. So that's a win-win there. If you build that foundation of trust at the beginning, I think.
Trust is everything here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I used to work in legal with lawyers, and it was the same thing. You have to earn the trust. Once you earn the trust, then you're in good shape. But before that, it's just there may not be a lot of buy-in until you establish that. But you talked about faculty homepage earlier a little bit with me in this conversation. So whether it's a faculty homepage or a blog post, in your experience, what makes academic content more compelling and accessible to non-specialist audiences these days? I know short form video is hot. Is that something you see?
Oh, for sure. So I guess two parts, right? First is what really helps is that clarity, that context, and a bit of storytelling. It's not just about dumbing everything down. It's about framing it. Start with, why the work matters. Connect it to real world questions. Avoid the extensive jargon. So once you have that clarity on that, then what we have seen is that attention spans are definitely getting shorter and shorter. So those short video abstracts really help get the message across. And we work very closely with academics in developing these video abstracts. Sometimes they hand off the paper or the book to us, and we develop the first version. Of course, we run it by them to make sure that this is the script that they wanted to. The script highlights the main findings, one or two findings that they can convey in like 30 seconds, because people are not going to watch videos that are longer than, let's say, a minute. Sometimes people ignore videos with voiceovers, so we do videos sometimes without voiceovers depending on the content, because that's really, sometimes visuals are necessary to explain that finding. So we have a lot of focus on what type of video is right for what type of content that's being displayed, and that's really gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen any shifts in how academics use platforms like LinkedIn or personal website? Now, we've all seen the YouTube videos of Andrew Huberman or Jordan Peterson, for example, right? But these people are outliers. Do you see a shift in other academics going the same route?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more academics are realizing that platforms like LinkedIn, Substack, and even personal websites, they let them control that narrative that they want to get across and then reach beyond their peers to students, journalists, policymakers, public at large. We're seeing a shift from just listing achievements to communicating ideas, short posts, commentary on current events, behind the scenes looks at their research process. Those are sort of gaining traction. And again, it's less about self-promotion and more about creating that connection. So that shift that I'm talking about is opening the doors for this more engagement and impact.
I personally love these short form videos from these academics. It's just a great insight that they're sharing in a bite-sized format that I can easily understand and then share with my friends as well. And I think the two professors that I just mentioned are a good example of that. Whether people agree with it or not, a lot of people do, some people don't. But that's why we have the internet now, where everybody's a publisher and everybody can get the word out if they put in the effort or partner with companies like yours to be able to spread the knowledge there more freely with the world. But when you build faculty sites or you do brand collateral for them, what's different about designing for academics versus business clients? Have you noticed anything else? Any advice for marketers trying to bridge that cultural gap?
Okay, so designing websites, developing videos, doing social media, all these things that we do, for designing for academics generally is very different from working with business clients. For one, academics are not looking for flashy slogans or oversimplification. So the tone needs to be credible, thoughtful, and grounded in their actual work. And you also have to design around the content that's often dense and technical, which of course means organizing it in a certain way, guiding the reading with structure, making it visually inviting without distracting from substance. So it's a very, there are subtle differences that have to be, one has to be very cognizant of. My advice to marketers, operating in this academic space, is to take the time to understand the scholar's work, and not just their CV, but what scholars really care about. What their current research, what they're trying to communicate. Approach it like a collaborator, not a campaign that you're designing for an academic. And that mindset shift, that's what builds trust between the marketer and the academic, and sort of leads to a better outcome for everyone, including the institution.
Absolutely, yeah. And what's a perfect way to do that in your mind? Look online, look at the research papers, or would you say, hey, schedule a coffee meeting and meet with them one-on-one to really build that trust?
Yeah, so we invest a lot of time in that. Let's say, we have a physics professor who's interested in working with us. We go, look at all his work online, and then we start reading his research papers. We try to understand what the theme of that research is, and we invest a lot of time in really understanding his research. And I guess that's the advantage that we have. We have, people with technical skills in different fields, whether it's physics, biology, economics, law, all professors from different disciplines. We invest a lot of time in reading their actual research articles, watch their interviews in media if they have any, and really try to understand, what is the context in which they're trying to convey that message, what is the theme of their research. And that is a necessary prerequisite to designing a good website. So, investing so much time is important, because website is just a tool, and the tool has to be designed according to the content.
Right.
And content we have to understand. And then, of course, in addition to websites, we do the same for papers. Even if somebody wants, one book or a video abstract, a 30-second video abstract for a book or a research article, we won't just stop there. We will go and read other work that he's done around that particular topic. And then we will think, okay, there's a broader point that he's trying to convey. And that's what we're going to focus on when we're developing the scripts for videos or coming up with the right imagery and animation to use.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of people that are actually somewhat subject matter expert in that particular topic as well, not just somebody who just found out about it. So when it comes to your staff, are they fellow academics, or who's working on that content?
Yeah, so we have academics that are working with us, but we have subject matter experts. So we have, as I said, if you're working with a professor of economics, we will have economists on the team, who will read that content and understand it. If we have, a chemistry professor, we have, people, even if it's, upper year students in chemistry who've done exceptionally well in, throughout their coursework, our chemistry majors. So people who understand that content very well are also doing research. We make sure that, the right people with that subject matter expertise get to review the content before we propose anything to any professor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a great exposure for the students as well to be able to dig into that a little bit deeper and then get the experience.
Well, I think so. I think students are pretty happy with it, because a lot of students are working with labs that professors have. And, this sort of helps them create this marketing strategy for the whole lab. The labs are in the business of, doing, of course, research, but also bringing in funding for that research. And that funding itself is, the better marketing, the higher quality marketing that their research, lends itself to, the higher the likelihood of them, receiving those funds. So, it's not just the professors we work with. We are also working with, right now, in discussions with several labs that are, focused on different fields, bio, chemistry, AI, computer science, etc. And we're really studying their content before going out to developing their marketing strategy.
Very good, very good. So let's do a little bit of practical advice as we land this plane. If you could wave your magic wand and change one thing about how institution and faculty collaborate on digital presence, what would it be?
Let me put it this way. If I could change one thing, I would try to make the collaboration between faculty and MarCom teams easier and more consistent. Most MarCom professionals that I've met are, quite skilled. They know how to tell good stories, and they elevate the institution's visibility they're good at that. The challenge is that they don't get access or time they need from the faculty to really bring that academic work to life. And faculty are just too busy just producing content without thinking about the other side. Not because they don't want to. It's just that this is the nature of the job, that they have teaching, research, and other administrative responsibilities.
Right.
So it's hard for them to prioritize. So I would say on both sides, what's missing isn't that interest or talent. It's that infrastructure to bridge that gap. Personally, I would love to see more systems where faculty can just plug into a trusted support, whether that's internal within MarCom or external, that understands that academic content and can work alongside MarCom teams to help scholarship reach the audiences it deserves.
Well, maybe you'll be able to push towards that in the upcoming years as well with your company. Tell us a little bit about an academic blog, how people can in touch with you to connect with you or partner with you.
I think the best way is, of course, they can visit, first of all, I encourage them to visit our website at academic.blog. They can contact us anytime at contact@academic.blog. In addition to that, I would love to hear from both the academics, lab managers, MarCom teams. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. I will provide my LinkedIn URL to you. It's LinkedIn /Hashim-Zaman. That's my URL. But feel free to display it, and would love to connect and communicate over there.
Perfect. I'll be sure to tag you in the recap then. Thank you, Dr. Zaman, for your time, for sharing your insights with the audience and myself. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I know the audience will learn a lot as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful.
And that's a wrap for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Education Marketing Leader Podcast this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and your network. And if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, now that you listen to one and you got inspired, reach out to me via DM. We'd love to help you launch your own. We'll take care of everything for you, the scripting, the strategy, the editing, the distribution. All you have to do is show up, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you're ready for it, let's chat. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time at the Education Marketing Leader Podcast. Take care, friends.